Good day, beautiful people. Say that's why we're Trina. That's why we're. Hey, girls. Hey. Hold on a second. Peaceful greetings up in the family. Peaceful greetings. Let me watch upstairs. All right, beautiful people. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. All right, beautiful people. It is Tuesday, May the 18th, 2021, day 157 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets. And of the 3-year consecutive day count is day 826. Remember, that is without the Sabbath days or the Sabbath feast days added into the count. Why? Because we rest, as Yahuwah has commanded us to. Tiffany! Hey, girl, hey! So, Bola, yeah. What's together over here? All right, y'all. All right, so let's go ahead and hop on over here to the Shema. Josiah, shalom, shalom. Everybody on YouTube, shalom, shalom. Let's go ahead and bring this up. Over here. All right, y'all. The Shema is found in Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 3. Chapter 6, starting at verse 3. Remember, read the entire chapter so you can get the full gist of everything. We did a good job with pulling the scriptures out, but when you get time, read the full chapter. Hear, therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily, as Yahuwah, the God of our fathers, has promised us, in a land that flows with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel, Yahuwah, our God, He is one God, and you shall love Yahuwah your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart. And these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart. And these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart. And you shall teach them diligently unto your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them upon the posts of your house and on your gates. And Yahuwah commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear Yahuwah our God for our good always, that He might preserve us alive as it is at this day. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before Yahuwah our God, as He has commanded us. All right, y'all remember, writing them on our hand for a sign is the action, right? The frontlets between your eyes, thinking what you meditate on, right? Because what begins here and what's happening in here carries out here in action, where we all can see what's been going on inside of here. You know what's on your mind, right? And we shall also teach our household, our children, command them in the ways of Yah. Teach them about the commands, right? Melinda Brown, shalom, auntie. Okay, y'all. Let's go ahead and hop on over to our reading today. We're reading 2 Chronicles 24, 25, and 26. Right here. This always changes my version. That really collects my nerves. Alright, there we go. Joash repairs the temple. Okay. Wow. Trini, you spelled it right. That wow boo. I just saw the comment. BETWABU. That's why. Twa. Twa. Okay. Alright. Joash repairs the temple. Joash was 7 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem for 40 years. His mother was Zibiah from Beersheba. Joash did what was pleasing in Yahuwah's sight throughout the lifetime of Jehoiada the priest. Jehoiada chose 2 wives for Joash, and he had sons and daughters. Greetings, Dana. At one point, Joash decided to repair and restore the temple. He summoned the priests and Levites and gave them these instructions. Go to all the towns of Judah and collect the required annual offerings so that we can repair the temple of Yahuwah. Do not delay. But the Levites did not act immediately. So the king called for Jehoiada, the high priest, and asked him, why haven't you demanded that the Levites go out and collect the temple taxes from the towns of Judah and Jerusalem? Moses, the servant of Yahuwah, levied this tax on the community of Israel in order to maintain the tabernacle of the covenant. Over the years, the followers of wicked Athaliah had broken into the temple of Yahuwah, and they used all the dedicated things from the temple of Yahuwah to worship the images of Baal. So now the king ordered a chest to be made and set outside the gate leading to the temple of Yahuwah. Then a proclamation was sent throughout Judah and Jerusalem, telling the people to bring Yahuwah the tax that Moses, the servant of Yah, had required of the Israelites in the wilderness. This pleased all the leaders and the people, and they gladly brought their money and filled the chest with it. Whenever the chest became full, the Levites would carry it to the king's officials. Then the court secretary and an officer of the high priest would come and empty the chest and take it back to the temple again. This went on day after day, and a large amount of money was collected. The king and Jehoiada gave the money to the construction supervisors, who hired masons and carpenters to restore the temple of Yahuwah. They also hired metal workers who made articles of iron and bronze for Yahuwah's temple. The men in charge of the renovation worked hard and made steady progress. They restored the temple of Yahuwah according to its original design and strengthened it. When all the repairs were finished, they brought the remaining money to the king and Jehoiada. It was used to make various articles for the temple of Yahuwah, articles for worship, services, and for burnt offerings, including ladles and the other articles made of gold and silver. And the burnt offerings were sacrificed continually in the temple of Yahuwah during the lifetime of Jehoiada the priest. Jehoiada lived to a very old age, finally dying at 130. He was buried among the kings in the city of David because he had done so much good in Israel for Yahuwah and his temple. But after Jehoiada's death, the leaders of Judah came and bowed before King Joash and persuaded him to listen to their advice. They decided to abandon the temple of Yahuwah, the God of their ancestors, and they worshiped Asherah poles and idols instead. Because of this sin, divine anger fell on Judah and Jerusalem. Yet Yahuwah sent prophets to bring them back to him. The prophets warned them, but the people would not listen. But still, the people would not listen. So remember, prophets only come on the scene to do what? To bring correction and return you to Yah. Y'all done got off the path. This is the way. Walk ye in it, right? If prophets are doing, they got the title prophets, and they doing something different than what Yahuwah uses prophets to do, like they using it for notoriety and fame and all that stuff, you might as well ignore them, right? Yahuwah didn't send them. Yahuwah always send the prophets to get his people back on track, right? Well, read this again. But after Jehoiada's death, the leaders of Judah came and bowed before King Joash and persuaded him to listen to their advice. They decided to abandon the temple of Yahuwah, the God of their ancestors, and they worshiped Asherah poles and idols instead. Because of this sin, divine anger fell on Judah and Jerusalem. Yet Yahuwah sent prophets to bring them back to him. The prophets warned them, but still the people would not listen. The spirit of Yahuwah came upon Zechariah, the son of Jehoiada the priest. He stood before the people and said, "This is what Yahuwah says. Why do you disobey Yahuwah's commandments and keep yourselves from prospering? You have abandoned Yahuwah, and now he has abandoned you." Then the leaders plotted to kill Zechariah, and King Joash ordered that they stone him to death in the courtyard of Yahuwah's temple. That was how King Joash repaid Jehoiada for his loyalty, by killing his son. Zechariah's last words as he died were, "May Yahuwah see what they are doing and avenge my death." So we know how you are here. Even they repeated a few times, and not a few times. I think it's once. You hear it repeated in the New Testament. I want to say it's Matthew, about how if Jerusalem knew her time, she would be returning to Yahuwah, but they pretty much don't listen, and they stone the prophets that are sent to them, right? We'll see quite a few times what they do to the prophets because they don't want to listen to them. They even drop Jeremiah down into a well, right? Anybody that's trying to help them, look, y'all might want to turn around. Y'all going in the wrong direction. They don't want to hear that. So they try to do away with them. We don't want to hear that. Get out of here. Right? Okay. So, in the spring of the year, the Aramean army marched against Joash. They invaded Judah and Jerusalem and killed all the leaders of the nation. Then they sent all the plunder back to their king in Damascus. Although the Arameans attacked with only a small army, Yahuwah helped them conquer the much larger army of Judah. The people of Judah had abandoned Yahuwah, the God of their ancestors, so judgment was carried out against Joash. The Arameans withdrew, leaving Joash severely wounded, but his own officials plotted to kill him for murdering the son of Jehoiada the priest. They assassinated him as he lay in bed. Then he was buried in the city of David, but not in the royal cemetery. The assassins were Jazakar, the son of an Ammonite woman named Shemith, and Jehozabad, the son of a Moabite woman named Shomer. The account of the sons of Joash, the prophecies about him, and the record of his restoration of the temple of Yahuwah are written in the commentary on the books of the kings. His son Amaziah became the next king. Greetings. Zana said, "What is a salt covenant?" Reread in 2 Chronicles 13. Okay, I'll reread it. I'll read it later. I'm going to do this. Okay. 2 Chronicles chapter 25. Amaziah was 25 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 29 years. His mother was Jehoiadan from Jerusalem. Amaziah did what was pleasing in Yahuwah's sight, but not wholeheartedly. When Amaziah was well established as king, he executed the officials who had assassinated his father. However, he did not kill the children of the assassins, for he obeyed the command of Yahuwah as written by Moses in the book of the law. Parents must not be put to death for the sins of their children, nor the children for the sins of their parents. Those deserving to die must be put to death for their own crimes. And we talk about this a lot, right? Okay. I'm sure y'all remember that. Then Amaziah organized the army, assigning generals and captains for all Judah and Benjamin. He took a census and found that he had an army of 300,000 select troops, 20 years old and older, all trained in the use of the spear and shield. He also paid about 7,500 pounds of silver to hire 100,000 experienced fighting men from Israel. But a man of Yahuwah came to him and said, "Your Majesty, do not hire troops from Israel, for Yahuwah is not with Israel. He will not help those people of Ephraim. If you let them go with your troops into battle, you will be defeated by the enemy. You will be defeated by the enemy, no matter how well you fight. Yahuwah will overthrow you, for he has the power to help you or to trip you up. Amaziah asked the man of Yahuwah, but what about all the silver I paid to hire the army of Israel? The man of Yahuwah replied, Yahuwah is able to give you much more than this. So Amaziah discharged the hired troops and sent them back to Ephraim. This made them very angry with Judah, and they returned home in great rage. Then Amaziah summoned his courage and led his army to the valley of Salt, where they killed 10,000 Edomite troops from Seir. They captured another 10,000 and took them to the top of a cliff and threw them off, dashing them to pieces on the rocks below. You talking about this, Dana? Where her comment go? Oh, no, you said the Salt Covenant. This is the Valley of Salt. Hey. Okay. I just had to double check your I had to double check your comment. You said the Covenant of Salt. They fight in the Valley of Salt. Okay. Meanwhile, the hired troops that Amaziah had sent home raided several of the towns of Judah between Samaria and Beth Horon. They killed 3,000 people and carried off great quantities of plunder. When King Amaziah returned from slaughtering the Edomites, he brought with him idols taken from the people of Seir. He set them up as his own gods, bowed down in front of them, and offered sacrifices to them. This made Yahuwah very angry. And he sent a prophet to ask, why do you turn to gods who could not even save their own people from you? But the king interrupted him and said, Since when have I made you the king's counselor? Be quiet now before I have you killed. See what they be doing when the prophets come to bring them correction so that they can save their lives? And then go back. When King Amaziah returned from slaughtering the Edomites, he brought with him idols taken from the people of Seir. He set them up as his own gods, bowed down in front of them, and offered sacrifices to them. This made Yahuwah very angry, and he sent a prophet to ask, why do you turn to gods who could not even save their own people from you? But the king interrupted him and said, Since when have I made you the king's counselor? Be quiet now before I have you killed. So the prophet stopped with this warning. I know that Yahuwah has determined to destroy you because you have done this and have refused to accept my counsel. After consulting with his advisors, King Amaziah of Judah sent this challenge to Israel's king Jehoash, the son of Jehoahaz and grandson of Jehu. Come and meet me in battle. But King Jehoash of Israel replied to King Amaziah of Judah with this story. Out in the Lebanon mountains, a thistle sent a message to a mighty cedar tree. Give your daughter in marriage to my son. But just then a wild animal of Lebanon came by and stepped on the thistle, crushing it. You are saying, I have defeated Edom, and you are very proud of it. But my advice is to stay at home. Why stir up trouble that will only bring disaster on you and the people of Judah? But Amaziah refused to listen, for Yahuwah was determined to destroy him for turning to the gods of Edom. So King Jehoash of Israel mobilized his army against King Amaziah of Judah. The two armies drew up their battle lines at Beth-Shemesh in Judah. Judah was routed by the army of Israel, and its army scattered and fled for home. King Jehoash of Israel captured Judah's king, Amaziah, son of Joash, the grandson of Ahaziah, at Beth-Shemesh. Then he brought him to Jerusalem, where he demolished 600 feet of Jerusalem's wall from the Ephraim gate to the corner gate. He carried off all the gold and silver and all the articles from the temple of Yahuwah that had been in the care of Obed-Edom. He also seized the treasures of the royal palace, along with hostages, and then returned to Samaria. King Amaziah of Judah lived for 15 years after the death of King Jehoash of Israel. The rest of the events in Amaziah's reign, from beginning to end, are recorded in the book of the kings of Judah and Israel. After Amaziah turned away from Yahuwah, there was a conspiracy against his life in Jerusalem, and he fled to Lachish. But his enemies sent assassins after him, and they killed him there. They brought his body back on a horse, and he was buried with his ancestors in the city of David. All right, y'all, last chapter for the day, 2nd Chronicles chapter 26. Uzziah rules in Judah. All the people of Judah had crowned Amaziah's 16-year-old son Uzziah as king in place of his father. After his father's death, Uzziah rebuilt the town of Elath and restored it to Judah. Uzziah was 16 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 52 years. His mother was Jecholiah from Jerusalem. He did what was pleasing in Yahuwah's sight, just as his father Amaziah had done. Uzziah sought Yahuwah during the days of Zechariah, who taught him to fear Yahuwah. And as long as the king sought guidance from Yahuwah, Yahuwah gave him success. Uzziah declared war on the Philistines and broke down the walls of Gath, Jabneh, and Ashdod. Then he built new towns in the Ashdod area Uzziah declared war on the Philistines and broke down the walls of Gath, Jabneh, and Ashdod. Then he built new towns in the Ashdod area and in other parts of Philistia. Yahuwah helped him in his wars against the Philistines, his battles with the Arabs of Gur, and his wars with the Meunites. The Meunites paid annual tribute to him, and his fame spread even to Egypt, for he had become very powerful. Uzziah built fortified towers in Jerusalem at the corner gate and at the valley gate and at the angle in the wall. He also constructed forts in the wilderness and dug many water cisterns because he kept great herds of livestock in the foothills of Judah and on the plains. He was also a man who loved the soil. He had many workers who cared for his farms and vineyards, both on the hillsides and in the fertile valleys. Uzziah had an army of well-trained warriors ready to march into battle, unit by unit. This is the army that had been mustered and organized by Jael, the secretary of the army, and his assistant Maaseiah. They were under the direction of Hananiah, one of the king's officials. These regiments of mighty warriors were commanded by 2,600 clan leaders. The army consisted of 300,000, 7,500 men, all elite troops. They were prepared to assist the king against any enemy. Uzziah provided the entire army with shields, spears, helmets, coats of mail, bows, and sling stones, and he built structures on the walls of Jerusalem designed by experts to protect those who shot arrows and hurled large stones from the towers and the corners of the wall. His fame spread far and wide, for Yahuwah gave him marvelous help, and he became very powerful. But when he had become powerful, he also became proud, which led to his downfall. He sinned against Yahuwah his God by entering the sanctuary of Yahuwah's temple and personally burning incense on an incense altar. Azariah the priest went in after him with 80 other priests of Yahuwah, all brave men. They confronted King Uzziah and said, "It is not for you, Uzziah, to burn incense to Yahuwah. That is the work of the priests alone, the descendants of Aaron who are set apart for this work. Get out of the sanctuary, for you have sinned. Yahuwah your God will not honor you for this." Uzziah, who was holding an incense burner, became furious. Like, you're the king, you did all this great stuff. Now you think just because you did this, you authorized to go in the temple and do what was not ordained of you to do? This was his downfall. Uzziah, who was holding an incense burner, became furious. But as he was standing there raging at the priest before the incense altar in Yahuwah's temple, leprosy suddenly broke out on his forehead. When Azariah and the high priest and all the other priests saw the leprosy, they rushed him out. And the king himself was eager to get out because Yahuwah had struck him. So King Uzziah had leprosy until the day he died. He lived in isolation in a separate house, for he was excluded from the temple of Yahuwah. His son Jotham was put in charge of the royal palace, and he governed the people of the land. The rest of the events of Uzziah's reign, from beginning to end, are recorded by the prophet Isaiah, son of Amoz. When Uzziah died, he was buried with his ancestors. His grave was in a nearby burial field belonging to the kings, For the people said he had leprosy, and his son Jotham became the next king. All right, beautiful people. So you got to be careful. Pride to get you every time. You gotta learn how to rein it in. When it start rising up, you need to put it back down. Okay, you ain't all that. You got a little bit of skill here, but don't get the big head. All right, beautiful people. So let's hop on over here to Fossilized Customs, and we will pick up where we left off at yesterday on page 63 down towards the bottom. Okay, so I actually kind of cut the paragraph in half. I think I'll just start it over where it says, Origin CSA, Didascalia, Circus Father, also spoke to the Nazarene. Okay, so we made a couple corrections. Remember, we crossed out Yahusha, and we're just using Yah just for the sake of not getting people confused, right? While we're still understanding that Yahuwah is one, right? Okay. Yah is the spirit indwelling us, and he is our armor. In the power of his love, we are enabled to overcome the world, or the beast organism. Practically everything we see and hear from teachers on any subject is a different spin on how to interpret Yahuwah's will. Are we hearing his point of view or that of the flesh? We must listen for his voice in those who teach anything and discern if we are hearing him or another shepherd, which is the enemy. We are the vessels of Yahuwah. This says Yahusha, but we'll cross this out. We'll keep it all uniform. We are the vessels of Yahuwah, restoring lost sheep to his eternal covenant. Yahuwah doesn't have dispensations of any kind. He is the same yesterday, today, and forever. If there is any other kind of discussion going around about dispensationalism or replacement theology, it is not his voice, but it is another. His point of view is all we need to take away from any teacher. Like you know how you go to this is good. I like how he said it. He said, listen to this. His point of view is all we need to take away from any teacher, right? So you have teachers that teach different things. Some teachers teach one subject. Some teachers teach a variety of subjects. We go to that teacher for whatever it is we need. It's just like going to the store. The store is stocked with many good things, right? But you don't need all them things in that store. Just like you go to the store and get what you need to nourish and sustain your household, that's what you do from each teacher. You don't need to take everything and internalize everything they say. You just need to pull out the meat of what you need from your teacher and go on about your business, right? Okay. His point of view is all we need to take away from any teacher. Whenever we see a life, he sees love. We should look at one another as he does, and our behavior between one another will reflect what we are capable of becoming, not what we may be in the moment. Love one another as he loves us always. Okay. Right here. This whole diet part. I'm going to just cross out. I'll just cross out this and died part. I won't need to get rid of the whole sentence, but just the and died, right? He loved us while we were yet criminals. He loved us while we were yet criminals. We should commit our lives to rescue those around us, even if it is without words. Our behavior towards one another is the most powerful message of all. Love. We are branches or not serene of Yahuwah himself. Let's just make that Yahuwah, not Yahusha. Of Yahuwah himself, his body, and he's looking for fruits to appear on us. We are Yahuwah walking in this dark world. And we're representatives of Yahuwah walking in this dark world. Okay. Next page. Not serene guardians, watchmen, branches. That's what not serene means. I'll show you this picture. Right. Okay, so it's about to start talking about rosaries and necromancy, right? Okay, so just in case you don't have the book, So that's what those different rosaries and all those things are. Okay. Some of the signs. Okay. It said, Yahuwah's bride knows they are his. They guard his name and his word. The flashing sword of love, which is his word, is in our hearts. Right? Just like we hear in the Shema, these words shall be in your heart. Whose words? Yahuwah's words. His Torah. His truth. Right? What is truth? Yahuwah's words. Your Torah. Your instructions. Your law. That's what truth is. And he said, this is what shall be in your heart. Not what other people say. We said it a couple times. You don't come ask JC into your heart. Yahuwah said, put my words in your heart. Right? You gotta be careful, right? It's real subtle how it happens. It's really subtle. And if you're not paying attention, you miss it. Okay, rosaries, necromancy. The prayer beads, excuse me, the prayer beads which monks use and nuns wear and are sold to the laity or the commoners in Catholicism came into their system around CE 1090. About the same time, indulgences and celibacy were embraced. Prayer beads originated with pagans and are very common among Buddhists and Muslims. The Rudraksha beads of the Buddhists have 108 beads. They are sometimes called seeds. The Muslims use 99 sacred stones on their rosaries, and Catholics have 59. During the time that the lands of Spain and Portugal were controlled by the Islamic Moors, a city was established called Fatima, named after one of Muhammad's daughters. The story is that 3 Catholic children met an apparition of Mary in Fatima, and this Mary gave one of them the prayer beads to pray with her. Mary worship had started in CE 431 and kept growing more and more over the centuries. Mary is in the news quite often still, popping up in people's houses, on burnt toast, or in the clouds. Catholics rally to see her. It is an odd thing, but Muslims also pray to Mary because Muhammad married a Roman Catholic nun named Khadijah and learned to venerate Mary from her. They only pray to Allah and Mary, yet they don't pray to Muhammad. Both Muhammad and Mary are dead and rotting in the ground. In the U.S., a state is named for Mary, Maryland. How many of y'all knew that? I didn't. I know I done read over this, but I never remembered it. A state is named for Mary, Maryland. Pagans' repetitive prayers are condemned by Yahusha, note Matthew 6 and 7. And when you pray, do not keep on babbling like pagans, for they think they will be heard because of their many words. Do not be like them, for your Father knows what you need before you ask him. Deuteronomy 13 and Isaiah 8 forbid prayer to any entity other than Yahuwah. Contacting the dead is absolutely forbidden. Intercessory prayer may be done by living saints for other saints, but prayers to the dead are an abomination. Any contact with spirits is a grievous transgression known as divination and is demonic. All right, next page. Islam. It's like the 7th century all the time, and it's giving you a picture of it'll explain here in a moment. Right. Okay. The Arabs are children of Abraham by the Egyptian Hagar, who lived apart from the tribes of Israel and became pagans. They worship hundreds of deities. The big black box, now called the Kaaba, Arabic for cube, was filled with images of their deities, one of which was called Allah, a moon deity. I'll show it to you again. This the cube. Okay. And I read it again. The big black box, now called the Kaaba, Arabic for cube, was, or it could be Kaaba. Maybe I just pronounced it wrong. It's Kaaba or Kaaba. Arabic for cube was filled with images of their deities, one of which was called Allah, a moon deity. Asherah was a moon deity of the Canaanites, and Jericho was a major seat of her followers. Asherah and Allah are the same deity. Muhammad declared Allah to be the greatest of the deities. The moon symbol is prominent in this religion. Islam means submission. Muhammad was born in the midst of the pagan Arabs, and his clan watched over the Kaaba, a cube about 35 feet on each side. Inside the cube were hundreds of idols, worshipped by means of cult prostitutes who made pilgrimages to Mecca. They would circumambulate or walk around the cubicle building, just as the Hindus circumambulate their stupas or others do to a maypole. Y'all remember the maypole, that one we did where they got the lines coming from the pole and do ring around the roses? Remember, that's the maypole, right? They had kids doing it in school, doing fertility rituals that they don't even know they're doing. They walk in a circle around the object of worship, a fertility symbol. In his youth, Muhammad converted to Yahudaism. He was eventually ejected by the congregation because of his violence. He later sought to convert his misguided people from their paganism, but had to flee for his life from Mecca to his birthplace in Medina in CE 622 because the Arabs were dedicated to their idols. This flight or hijrah is the beginning point of the Islamic calendar. When he was in his mid-20s, he organized a large band of followers and attacked the pagan hierarchy in Mecca and destroyed the idols in the Kaaba, replacing them with oil lamps. The Kaaba and its environment had to be invented to mask its former use. A large black meteor rock is believed to be a gift from the angel to their father Abraham, and the Kaaba is considered to be the holiest place on earth today by Muslims. Muhammad married an older woman in her 40s, Khadijah, a Roman Catholic nun. It is believed by many that she had been sent to him by the Vatican, who taught him from the scrolls of the Tanakh. In these scrolls, there is a transposition of the names of Yitzhak and Ishmael, indicating that the covenant was really with the firstborn son of Abraham, Ishmael. This caused the Ishmaelites to rise up and recapture the land of Yisrael or Israel from the Persians. After the slaughter, Rome would make her move, the Crusades. The Muslims embraced praying to Mary because of Muhammad's wife's dedication to her. They consider Rabbi Yahusha to be a prophet, but they pray to his dead mother. The writings of Islam are called the Quran or Quran, from the Hebrew word kara, which means proclaim. Their use of the word Allah is known to them as meaning the God, from the word Allah, which in Hebrew means mighty or lofty one, but it is not a name. The Ishmaelites and the Israelites are both Hebrews. They are brothers, yet they fight over the land given to Abraham. The problem between them is their difference in belief. The Romans renamed the land Palestine, a Latinism for Philistia. So pay attention to what's going on now. And if you've been watching the news, Joanne, Shalom, some of this stuff will make sense, right? The problem between them is their difference in belief. The Romans renamed the land Palestine, a Latinism for Philistia, the land of the Philistines, who came there as settlers. When we see the Arabs referring to themselves as Palestinians, they're calling themselves Philistines, as if their claim to the land predates the tribes of Israel. Genesis 21:34 states, Abraham sojourned in the land of the Philistines many days. Obviously, Abraham wasn't a Philistine, so neither were Isaac or Ishmael. Ishmael was half Egyptian because Hagar was an Egyptian. The Ishmaelites lived in Arabia, given the name Arabs. Arab merchants bought Joseph and carried him to Egypt and sold him to Potiphar, Pharaoh's captain of the guard. Genesis 39:1. When all of these things are objectively presented to a Muslim, they become very confused. They face Mecca when they pray. When they rise up in their jihad or holy war, they are sometimes heard chanting the first the Saturday people, then the Sunday people. The name Ishmael means Elohim hears. The descendants of Ishmael have lived in hostility to all their brothers. Genesis 25 and 18. The name of Ishmael was given by Yahuwah to the boy of Hagar who fled from Sarah for being mistreated. Genesis chapter 16. He told her Ishmael's hand would be against everyone and would live in hostility towards all his brothers. There is nothing worse than a religious fanatic. They are taught that if they die in jihad, they will be instantly taken into paradise and given dozens of dark-eyed women as wives. They can't wait to die. They strap explosives to themselves, put their children in the line of fire, and when they instigate skirmishes and hold on, let me read that again. They can't wait to die. They strap explosives to themselves, put their children in the line of fire when they investigate skirmishes, and generally seek to kill everyone who will not submit to their Allah. The object of Islam is control of the whole earth and the extermination of the unbelievers and establish a worldwide caliphate. They control the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, a city not mentioned in their Quran. To a Muslim, Mecca or Makkah is the most important place on earth. Pagans use images of animals to represent their deities. Notice the similarity of the above image of the beast. The eagle represented Mithras to the Persians, and anthropomorphic image of the sun. On the right is the original flag of the Holy Roman Empire. And I'm going to show it to you. Just in case you don't have the book. These two right here. Okay, I'll read it again. Okay. Pagans used images of animals to represent their deities. Notice the similarity of the above image of the beast. The eagle represented Mithras to the Persians, an anthropomorphic image of the sun. On the right is the original flag of the Holy Roman Empire. The flag was of the empire was modeled after the old Roman Empire flag and came into use during the 800s under Charlemagne. Most pagan nations' flags utilize a beast of one sort or another, and the eagle is as old as Zoroastrianism, being a symbol of Ahura Mazda, aka Mithras. The pagan priests, or the Magi, wore an eagle over their chest. The Pharaoh of Egypt did as well. Many cultures still use this old pagan beast image. The Egyptians, Romans, Germans, Aztecs, USA's Great Seal, and others cherished this image of the sun, the great Mithras eagle. The phoenix, or the mythical firebird, is used by the Jesuit Illuminati and Masonry. When I was 16, I used a Gibson Firebird guitar below. Let me show the picture. Okay. The Londurs, I think that's how you say it, the Londurs, a musical group featuring Paula bass, drums, and vocals. The three males shown here, including myself, all attended a Jesuit. I'm getting tongue-tied, y'all. The three males shown here, including myself, all attended a Jesuit school, and we were completely under the spell of Roman Catholicism. We didn't associate with non-Catholics. Paula was also Roman Catholic. Okay, yes. Just make sure that was saying Paul. Okay, yeah. Paula was also Roman Catholic. Okay, Next section, Christmas. Shatan's birthday, or Satan's birthday. Christ's Mass. A Christian minister once responded to a letter I sent him admitting that there are many traditions within Christianity that were originally pagan, but he said they are only in the background now. Yes, they certainly are, buried under new meanings, reinterpreted to obscure them. The Arabs did it with their Kaaba, or the cube, and most can see that when it is something. Oh, sorry, hold on. The Arabs did it with their Kaaba, cube, and most can see that, but when it's something we do, we want to deny it. The minister also said that since we don't intend to be worshiping the sun now, that it's all okay. When a person chooses to believe in something, their heart follows after it. Even if it's a lie or a fantasy, it doesn't matter to them because they are seeing things from their perspective. Proverbs 19:2 says, "It is not good to have zeal without knowledge, nor be hasty and miss the way. A man's own folly ruins his life, yet his heart rages against Yahuwah." Many believe that Christmas is in the writings, with the stable manger, star of Bethlehem shepherds, and the Magi visitation. Also, everyone is programmed to celebrate birthdays, so why not celebrate Also, everyone is programmed to celebrate birthdays, so why not celebrate the birth of the most important person ever born? Now we're about to get into birthdays, and I want to thank one of the sisters. And although I looked into birthdays before, and we talked about it a little bit. Let's see this. This is going to explain the cone head and stuff. We talked about it a little bit, and something that I experienced when I was about to go to a birthday party that a friend had asked me to go to a couple years ago now. Maybe not quite 2 years. And I heard you who would say don't go, but we decided we was going to go anyway. And I threw my back out again. We ain't going nowhere. I'm like, I'm sorry. I knew it, like, not saying that something was going to happen, but he clearly had told us not to go. So, needless to say, we didn't go, but I had to be thrown to the ground, like, literally. I was thrown to the ground. Because I was exercising with my kettlebell. And that next morning, after I had told her that, yeah, we was going to come, after I had clearly heard you who was saying, right? I was like, well, it's just a little, ain't going to be nothing ratchet or nothing like that. We're going to, support our friend. And up exercising 5 o'clock the next morning with my kettlebell. With that second swing, back stiffened up, butt cheek tightened up, and I hit the floor. Oh, my gosh. Boy, I was in pain for the next month. Y'all. Obedience is better than sacrifice. I'm telling you. Okay, birthdays. Babel's oldest ritual. The popular celebration of The popular celebration of one's annual birthday is acknowledged to be, by all authorities on ancient customs, a pagan ritual from Babylon. The Babylonians served the sun, moon, planets, and constellations, a Gentile practice condemned by Yahuwah. Do not learn the ways of the Gentiles, and do not be alarmed by signs of the Shemayim, or Shemayim is the heavens and the skies, right? Okay. Do not learn the ways of the Gentiles, and do not be alarmed by the signs of the Shemayim, heavens, skies, outer space, although the Gentiles are alarmed by them. Jeremiah chapter 10. Birthdays are mentioned in Scripture a total of 3 times. When Joseph was in prison in Egypt, Genesis 40 and 20, Job chapter 1 verses 4 and 5, and Herod's birthday when Yochanan the Immerser, or John the Baptist, was beheaded, Matthew 14 and 6. In the situation described in Job sacrificed an animal because he was aware of his children's idolatry, for which they all died when the house they celebrated in collapsed on them in a violent windstorm. His sons used to go and hold a feast in the house of each one on his day. The NIV eliminated this phrasing but you can clearly see it in the KJV, NAV, NAS, and others. The baker was hanged on Pharaoh's birthday, and the Levite John, and it say our Savior's cousin, but let's not say that, right? Not JC and our Savior, right? We'll just say JC's cousin, right? Hold on. And the Levite John, JC's cousin, was beheaded on Herod's birthday. Cakes for Asherah. The ritual of the cakes, candles, wish, and presents served to give thanks to sky luminaries for allowing the birthday celebrant to reach the annual cycle of their birth. The cake is baked for the Queen of Heaven. Right? The cake is baked for the Queen of Heaven. It was decorated and monogrammed with the celebrant's name. The candles symbolize the sacred fire, carefully numbered for each annual cycle completed. The prayer chant and all the ritual procedures are carefully preserved. It is a religious occasion. Witches regard the day of one's birth as the most significant event in a person's life. Astrologers base everything on it. If the celebrant can blow out all the candles, then a secret wish made to a genie or Juno, if the person is female, will be granted. The birthday itself was a time of great superstition to a pagan, so they were surrounded by their friends and relatives for protection. In the Greek culture, it was believed that personal abilities and talents were bestowed on an individual by being inhabited or possessed by one or more demons called muses, M-U-S-E-S. A person's genius was the gift of the genie, thought of as the overseer of the muses. Arabs know the genie by the term jinn, J-I-N-N. The muses were 9 female deities believed to endow skills in speech, art, science, memory, scholastics, agility, and music. A word derived from the muses, 9 daughters of Zeus and Mnemosyne. I think that's how you pronounce that. It's spelled M-N. You know, when the M and the N is next to each other. The M, most of the time, is silent, right? So M-N-E-M-O-S-Y-N-E. Sometimes, just depending on which language. Sometimes you do the but anyway. The names of these 9 muses are Clio, Euterpe, Thalia, Melpomene, Terpsichore, Erato, Polymena, Urana, and Calliope. I know I pronounced some of them wrong, y'all. I'm sorry. You may recognize some of their names as having become a part of our language, like Uranus. They are the Greek deities of the arts and sciences. I'm sorry, y'all. It's my 2-year-old grandbaby. They are the Greek deities of the arts and sciences, giving us the word museum, a showplace of art and science. The fairy tale Sleeping Beauty refers to the gifts and benefits bestowed by the muses, since the muses were known as fairies in the Germanic and Gallic cultures. The 3 fates were a triad of female deities, also known as the 3 graces or the 3 charities. In the Greek and Roman mythologies, they ruled the lives of men and determined the length of a person's life. Clotho spun the threads of life. Lachish determined its length, and Artropos cut it. This is a type of idolatry that Paul was correcting the Galatians and Ephesians for observing, since they were falling back into these patterns instead of exposing them and excluding them from their lives. He told them that they have lived as pagans had been in darkness, but are now called out from such ignorance. This programming and these practices were absorbed, and people remain ignorant of them. Their spiritual leaders aren't going to tell them because they are hypnotized as well. The reason the writings don't make much sense to people is because they are not aware and don't recognize their own behavior as being pagan. Everything has been pushed into the background so well their eyes are so I'm sorry. Everything has been pushed to the background so well that their eyes are blinded to the real truth. Astrology, an ancient Babylonian process of worship, was used to determine the sign or constellation under which a person was born. Everything that happened to a person was determined by the stars or Mazzaroth. The position of the sun, moon, planets, and stars at the time of one's birth produced a personal horoscope, hour watch, used since ancient times by witches, psalmists, experts, psalmistry experts, fortune tellers, diviners, sorceresses, tarot card readers, magicians, soothsayers, and others who dabble in the occult. The word occult means hidden. Such divination is idolatry. Do not practice divination or sorcery, and do not turn to mediums or seek out spiritists. Leviticus 19, Deuteronomy 18:14, Exodus 22:18 says, "We are not to allow a sorceress to live," or "Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live." Right? Okay. Let your astrologers come forward, those stargazers who make predictions moon by moon, and let them save you from what is coming upon you. And it's found in Isaiah chapter 47, verse 13. These practices from Babel are tightly woven into our cultural tapestry. When the people of Yahuwah mixed Gentile religious practices into their lives, he brought the punishment forth that he had promised would come upon them at Deuteronomy chapter 28 and Deuteronomy chapter 30. The severe punishments for idolatry documented in the Tanakh are to serve as examples for us. First Corinthians chapter 10 verses 5 through 7. This calls for patient endurance on the part of the Kodeshim. Kodeshim is saints or called out ones who obey Yahuwah's commandments and remain faithful to Yahuwah. This says Yahusha, but how do you obey Yahuwah's commandments and remain faithful to Yahusha? See, that's mixation right there. If mixation is even a word, but y'all get what I'm saying, right? They see how they add stuff to the scriptures. This calls for patient endurance on the part of the Kodeshim, or the saints, or the called out ones, or the set apart ones who obey Yahuwah's commandments and remain faithful to Yahuwah, right? You might need to correct that in your Bible too. That's Revelation chapter 14 and 12. Go correct that, right? Because while y'all waiting for this other second person, it's throwing you off with the 11 that's added. The sovereign, hold on. Okay, this right here, the Usha. Let's not get all chopped and screwed and discombobulated. The sovereign Yahuwah commands us from the skies to come out of Babylon. Come out of her, my people, so that you will not share in her sins, so that you will not receive any of her plagues. For her sins are piled up to the Shemayim, or up to the heavens, and Yahuwah has remembered her crimes. That's Revelation chapter 18, verses 4 and 5. Y'all might want to correct that. Hold on. No, he added this part. Oh, the part that we fixed, he added that part. Okay, but the scripture is bolded right here. Okay. Revelation chapter 18, verses 4 and 5. The great dragnet is the calendar we use based on the solstices. Witches have used it since Babylon. Shatan, or Satan, by stealth, has this planet worshiping him by diversion. By the process you are about to see explained in the following pages, it will be evident to you that everything is designed, although in the background, according to the plans of Satan. He is behind the sun worship customs. How you have fallen from heaven, O morning star, Ben Shakar. You have been cast down to the earth, you who once laid low the nations. You said in your heart, I will ascend to heaven. I will raise my throne above to the stars of Elohim. I will sit enthroned on the mount of assembly, on the utmost heights of the sacred mountain. I will ascend above the tops of the clouds. I will make myself like the Most High. And you can find that in Isaiah 14, verses 12 through 14. And this scripture that I just read, that's taken out of context a lot of time. And we know that when he was speaking to the king of Tyre, who was a real human king, who had exalted himself and began to build a contraption to where people would think he was a god, right? Like he built a contraption to keep the people food, right? Until Isaiah showed up. He said, "Oh, you wicked king," right? And so people say that's Satan, but they take that and they kind of use it in comparison and stuff. But that was a real human king, okay? Babel's zodiac is the source of all sorcery. And if it's in the background, Latin. Christos means anointed, and Missa means depart. Both of these words were inherited from pagans. The Mashiach was never called Christ in his own tongue. Well, he wasn't Mashiach, right? Because Mashiach actually saves you from something. A savior, a redeemer. He didn't do anything. I know that's blasphemy to some people's ears, but you need to see what Yahuwah has said. I'm like, okay, brave. And hung up as a sign designed to appear as an eye, the eye in the sky. I'll show you. Y'all know the RX symbol right here. Okay, so we back over here. It went out for a second, y'all. I don't know. It said it was trying to reconnect. Oh, look, y'all. Okay, so I should have pointed. Okay, so this is what it's talking about. The sign of the physician, which is this, but they also use this as well. See the R? It's the RX, y'all. People call it the Eye of Horus. It's a lot of different names for it, but he's giving you the origin of how it just kind of grows over the millennia, right? Okay, so that's the RX, or the Eye of Horus, or okay. I'll read it again. The medical symbol RX is derived from two Greek letters, Rho and Chi. These are the first two letters in the Greek word Christos, spelled XP in Greek. The sick were anointed for healing, and the letters Rho and Chi were used as a logo for the physician's trade, hung up as a sign designated to appear as an eye, or the eye in the sky. Egyptians originated the healing Eye of Horus, and the Greeks adopted it with their letters X, which is Chi, and P, which is Rho. Medical students learn this history of the RX symbol in their study of pharmaceuticals. At this point, let me remark that he said that he put Mashiach. Okay, I'm going to read it. At this point, let me remark that JC, I can't even say JC right here. I'm just trying to make sure I use the right word here. We're just going to use Yahuwah. I was trying to see how he was explaining this. Okay. At this point, let me remark that Yahuwah never authorized or invented a new religion, but rather was upset because of the changes already made. He said, repent, turn back. This is what makes this all so bizarre. The word Christos is cognate with the Hindi Krishna, the sun deity of Hindus. It means shining one. The Latin word Lucifer means light bringer. Chris means shining. The word Hebrew Mashiach means anointed one, but refers to him as sovereign or king, as Samuel anointed David. The oil or lamp oil symbolized the power of light or wisdom of Torah poured on the head or reasoning organ. This is the organ with which we reason with, right? The reasoning organ, so that the king would rule wisely in the commandments. The Torah is a lamp and a light, but you can still see the way the original word was avoided and Shatan's shining was adopted instead. The word Christmas means anointed depart and is seen abbreviated as Xmas. You know how they cross out the Christ and put Xmas, M-A-S? The X stands for Christos, is nothing sacred. The word sacred is Latin. The word sacred in Latin is sacra, and is used in place of the Hebrew word kodesh, meaning set apart. Sakra itself traces back to an Indo-European language, or Sanskrit, and turns out to be a Vedic form of India's sun deity, Indra. It came into Old Persian, and in one of its 12 forms is Sakra. Another form is Mitra, or the Persian and Roman Mithras. The Catholic clergy wears the mitri, the hat of the priest Dagon, a fish deity of the Philistines. The name of Yahuwah is set apart, which is the name. That's not right. It says the name Yahusha, but it's Yah. Let's keep it as Yah all around, right? Because people get confused. We don't want to confuse anybody. The name of Yahuwah is set apart, which is the name Yahuwah. The word or Torah, which is instruction, is Kodesh, or means it's set apart. The Temple Mount, which he calls his set apart mountain forever, where he has placed his name, is Kodesh, meaning it is set apart. And finally, his people, called Yahudim, who bear his name, are Kodesh, meaning we're also set apart. Pretty much everything else is rock, dirt, metal, air, water, and such. The day we call Sabbath is set apart in time as a memorial of creation and is in the Torah. The teachings of Torah are a solid foundation to build on because they never change, nor can any man bend them. They were established by Yahuwah and are upright and straight. Missa, Latin for depart, was the last word spoken at a Catholic Mass, and so the word for the liturgical procedure seems to be from that. It was tacked on to the word Christ because the Mass ritual on December 25th was called Christ's Mass. But even the Mass existed before Catholicism. It was what pagan priests of Mithras and Mandeanism called their Mass of the Dead, which was a ghastly sacramental ritual of animal and human sacrifice on an indoor altar with the pagan worshippers assembled in 2 rows of benches with a center aisle. The pagan priest would be at one end of the room, mumbling obscurely, leading the worship of Mithras. And it shows, what is this? No, this is this picture goes with the next paragraph. So we're gonna end this right here at the picture. We'll start at the picture tomorrow because we're already at 1 hour and 8 minutes. So all right, y'all, I hope y'all enjoyed the reading for today. That was Fossilized Customs. We read pages 63 all the way to page 71. We read 2nd Chronicles 24, 25, and 26. Y'all, it is Tuesday, May the 18th, 2021, day 157 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, and of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 826. That is without the Sabbath or the feast day Sabbath days added in, because we rest on those days because Yahuwah has commanded us to. And we do our best to keep to the commandments of Yah. Okay, so let's bring up the blessing, which is found in Numbers chapter 6, verses 22 through 27. Remember the first 21 verses, y'all, is the Nazarite vow. Man or woman can take the Nazarite vow, as you all know by now. Okay. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, saying, On this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, May Yahuwah bless us and keep us. May Yahuwah make his face to shine upon us and be gracious unto us. May Yahuwah lift up his countenance upon us and give us peace. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. All right, beautiful people. I don't think we have any questions here today. Then I'm going to go back and read what you said in 2nd Chronicles chapter 13, and we'll chat about it. She said, what is a salt covenant? We read 2nd Chronicles chapter 13. So I'll look at that because I'm going to look at some reference. I'll find references, and then we'll, like I said, we'll chat about it. All right, y'all. Nothing over here on YouTube. Y'all, love y'all. See y'all back here in the morning. No. I won't see y'all tomorrow. I just glanced over. We won't be back here until Thursday. Remember, this is the first Sabbath This is the first Sabbath of this moon cycle tomorrow. Remember, the new moon was spotted on Wednesday, last Wednesday. So the Sabbath is Wednesdays for this moon cycle. So I won't see you tomorrow. I will see you Thursday. Okay. Hold on. I'm trying to expand your comment. Okay. All right. I don't know if it's just an overall glitch or if someone is messing with you. This morning's presentation was constantly, repeatedly interrupted, frozen in. I want all kinds of... Yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. Okay. Yeah, I saw it freeze up one time, but I'm sitting in the same spot where I always sit at. So I'm not exactly sure what's happening. Maybe it is an overall glitch. So I'm not sure. I haven't moved the phone or anything. Like, I don't know. But if it starts doing that over here, y'all, just kind of hop over to the YouTube link for today. You know, whichever is giving the best service. I don't know. I'll check into it, y'all. But I want to say it's an overall glitch or something because I haven't done anything different. You know, so. All right, y'all. With that being said, I'll see y'all back here Thursday morning, 7:15 a.m. Enjoy your day of rest, y'all. Peace.